Thank you so much to all those who have joined. I think we do have a good number to get the session started. Yes. So yes, let's get it started. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone who's joined us, depending on where you're joining from. As a quick introduction, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Michelle Njoroge. I'm an associate in the market strengthening team here at CCA. I'm going to hand it over to my co-pilot who's here with me, Ronan, for a quick introduction.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Ronan Ferguson. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm a senior manager in the market strengthening team. Back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Ronan. Yes, so let's get into the session of the day. So we do have 30 minutes with you. It's definitely not enough, but we're going to make do with what we have. And we're going to split it 3 ways. So I'm going to start it off by setting the scene for the first 10 minutes, in which I'm going to hand it over to Ronan to just do a live demonstration of the investor resource pages. And then we are going to go ahead into a Q&A session. Your questions are definitely important to us. We do have a Q&A function. You can see it either at the Zoom panel at the top or the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A function. Please feel free at any time during the session to just drop in a question, a reflection, your insights on as they come up during the session. And we will try at the end of the session to go through all the questions, but if we don't, we will get back to you in written communication. Yes, let's kick it off. So what I want you to do, what I want you to learn in the next 10 minutes is you will learn what problems that this investor resource pages are trying to solve for, who this investor resource pages are for, and what you as investors and donors can do to take action using these pages. Okay. So on the question on why we need this resource, speaking on the problem, we do know that clean cooking is a very nascent sector. It's up and coming, and investment into the sector is growing, but not at the pace that we want it to grow. It's not where we want it to be. And we do know that in our consultations, we did come to find out that this is not because there's a lack of information out there. Actually, there's a lot of information out there, but it's very scattered across different media, across different resources. And what we aim and what we see, and the problem that then we've established by talking to people, is that then this makes it very hard for investors to go ahead and come up with a potential pipeline when they're looking at the sector. So what do we want to do? What do we envision that this CCA pages will do? We do envision that it will facilitate more investment into the sector. Our intended income and proposition is, with these pages is that we will take on the responsibility to provide a convenient one-stop shop. We call it a one-stop shop, where investors can come on and find all the key information that they need as they go into deal sourcing. And who wouldn't want just a few minutes back from their valuable time during deal sourcing? Yes, so our target users, you out there, you are the impact investors, you are the donors, you are the challenge funds, the RBF designers, the carbon developers. And we know that through our consultations that you are trying to compile investment pipelines. You're trying to gain familiarity with the sector and its different business models, its trends, the data that's out there, and the new innovations that are coming up, as well as understanding national context and policies around clean cooking. And how you're doing this is just not cutting it. At the moment, you are searching online, you are finding reports and having to navigate a full report to get that key information that you need. You're paying consultancies out there to do this research on your behalf, or you're just studying you're waiting for studies to be completed in order to get this information. Definitely, this is time consuming. This is definitely costly. And this, it's highly dependent on other actors. And what we then want to do with the pages is meet you where you are as an investor, as a donor. If you look at the screen, we have a very nice illustration there about the different stages that investors and donors are in their journey. There's those that who are completely new to the clean cooking sector, those who are simply just aware, those who just might be interested but really haven't made any financial commitment, and those who have previously financed clean cooking companies, and those who make multiple investments in the sector. And we want to try get you from the far left to the far right. We want to bring everyone along with us to cut multiple checks, to make multiple investments into the sector. And how we will do that is we'll bridge those knowledge gaps. For you who's a new investor, we're going to make you gain an awareness of it. How we will do this is that through our pages, as you will see, as Ronan is demonstrating, we have very nice, easily consumable information for a new investor in the sector. He or she can come on and read about a fuel type, a business model in the sector, and just gain that understanding very quickly and very conveniently. For those who are aware and haven't yet gotten that fixed interest, we will help you gain and keep interest. Keyword, keep interest in the sector. So we will increase your interest by giving you updated, curated information on what's happening, or what are the new trends that are happening in the sector, what are companies doing, and what's changing, the new innovations. So we will keep you interested and invested in the clean cooking sector as a whole. And those who have financed and multiple and who have already made multiple investments, we will just plan to keep you here with us along the journey. So we will make sure that this is your go-to resource. Anytime you think clean cooking, you think CCA's investor resource pages. You will log in and simply find the data you need on. If you're looking at a specific region or specific country, you will know exactly where to go to find this information. If you are looking at different customer insights and data points, all that is going to be available on our investor resource pages, making it just the place you need to go right before your due diligence, because we are in no way saying that this is part your due diligence, your complete due diligence process. This is the step before. We're coming in before you complete your due diligence, just to give you that insight that you need. Yes, and bridge those knowledge gaps. Yes. So we didn't go ahead and do this on our own. We did have an army behind us. So yes, and we did meet with 18 different companies and multiple people across those companies. We do want to say a big thank you to Enabling Capital, Shell Foundation, EEP Africa, for steering and the get that. We do recognize that we're not at the end of the road. Ronan and I always say that this is just the end of the beginning. So we would appreciate it if you could share your feedback with us as I give it to Ronan to just do a live demonstration of the pages. Please let us know what you're thinking. If you're not able to do that on the Q&A function, we urge you to please get through to us, maybe through your CCA contact, or yes, to get through to us through your CCA contact, and just let us know what you're feeling, your how you think we could collaborate, and just your perspectives and insights about the resource pages. Your insight is very valuable to us. And we've also provided an email address that we will share out shortly so that you could get in touch with us. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give it to Ronan to to take us through the live demonstration.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that insightful opening and that call to action. And I completely agree. This is the end of the beginning, and we're still extremely open to feedback as we have to keep evolving this to keep it alive. So your engagement with us in this process is going to be really important for this to do what we want it to do and catalyze massive investment to come into the clean cooking sector. I hope you can all see my screen. It's the landing page here of the Investor Resources site, which is on the CCA website. The first thing I just want to do is to show you how to locate the Investor Resource pages from the drop-down menus. It's in Sector Resources, Investor Resources, so third down there currently. So that's how you find it. Michelle has covered a fair bit of this, but I think it is worth saying that this collection of curated content is designed for investors that are interested in investing equity in or providing debt to clean cooking companies. I already see a number of questions coming in there about, coming in from a company standpoint. I think Michelle covered it. I'll just underline it. This is a site for investors, donors, carbon project developers, primarily. This site is a jumping in point, and particularly we hope it will be useful to those that are new to clean cooking. We also hope that it will provide utility and value to those that are more experienced with clean cooking. But we want it ultimately to help investors to source that long list of potential clean cooking companies that might be of interest to them commercially. And as Michelle said, we are definitely stopping short of anything to do with due diligence or making any specific recommendations about a company or about a particular fuel type. It's CCA has a studied neutrality when it comes to the different fuel types in clean cooking. Great. Well, with that being said, what I'll do is I'll guide us through the three user journeys of the Investor Resource pages. I actually noticed as I was kind of loading up this site that there's a few of you that are on it already. It is a little bit slower than it normally is. So bear with us. When we go on fuel types, you will come through to seeing these 7 fuel types that you can then click into any one of these tiles. If we go into biodigesters, this is the archetype of how the rest of those fuel types look. So you come in, you have the latest news on all things biogas, all things biodigesters. So latest news being anything that would be of interest to an investor or donor that in this case is relevant to biodigesters. So the news of Native Energy investing 10 million in Sistema last October is on the site here, alongside a couple of other pieces of external news. If you carry on going down, we talk a little bit about what biogas is to us. If you keep going down, you come to this first section, which is innovation case studies. And here we've got 2 case studies, one from ATEC, one from Sistema Bio, on different innovations that are relevant, in this case, to biogas. So if you click on the prefabricated biodigester, you come to an explanation about what prefabricated biodigesters are and why they are an innovation. So what is it? Typical specifications, all the kind of information that we think might be useful for going into an investment memo. Not necessarily, we're not saying that ATEC is the one that does prefabricated biodigesters in this case. We're just giving you a case and a flavor of what prefabricated biodigesters look like in typical specifications, which hopefully goes into that investment memo or kind of grounds your thinking. We then talk a little bit about the gains that it creates for the company. In this case, a big kind of carbon revenue potential here in terms of 7 tons of carbon per year. Talks about the gains that are created for the customer in terms of savings in this case. Also related but different, what pain does it relieve for the company? So in this case, compared to fixed dome biogas units, these are potentially much more rugged. And we then do the same for customers. What pain does it relieve for them? We conclude the case study with other companies that we know of that are doing something similar. And in this case, it just links through back to their website. So that's an example of an innovation case card, or an innovation case study, excuse me. The next section down here is companies. So if we look at biogas units, what you can do here is filter by value chain. So if I want to see only those that distribute biogas units, click on it, and these companies pop up. And I'll pause here and just because I can preempt some questions here, like, is this the whole universe of everything? No, it isn't. It's a starting point. We feel like we've gotten to a point with the investor resource pages where we can now put it out to the wider world in terms of it's got the kind of the minimum viable content that's needed for it to show what it's trying to do. We are now in a process of kind of in a modular fashion increasing the exposure that we give it. So the number of companies that we profile, we're looking to increase that. We're looking to increase the number of countries that we have in the site as well. I'll come to that in the second user journey. Relevant to this point, though, about companies and having it be a big, more representative of the true universe of companies, clean cooking companies that are out there. You might be a company that comes along and says, well, I'm a biogas company, and I actually do design and engineering of biogas units, and yet I'm not here. So how do I get in touch with you? In that case, come up to the top, come to the overview, and there's a form here which asks, I believe it's six questions, so quite light. Should take you no more than 5 minutes. It comes through to us, and then we've got the information we need to populate you on the pages. Great. And then the bottom of the fuel types pages is about related resources. So this is any kind of, in this case, projects that CCA has done with different players in the biogas space, inclusive energy. I should say, actually, we've also got biogas units remote monitoring, and here's inclusive energy under digital usage monitoring. Got some projects that we've done with them and with ATEC, and any kind of related resources that we think an investor would be interested in, or a carbon project developer might be interested in, we will post them here. Okay, so that is the first of the user journeys around fuel types. Let's go now into countries. So if you click on countries, you come through to a map view of the world, but you can also see a list view of the world. Reference what I just said previously around, it's a small number of companies at the moment. We obviously want to expand this, but we are just locking down the format of each of these countries first. So let's jump into a country page. If we go Kenya, and either in the map view or the list view, if you hover over the country, you get some kind of key data on the country. So clean cooking population without access, the number of companies that we believe, CCA believes, to be present in the country, and the number of RBF programs that are active or have been completed in that country. And that's important because we want this to be easy for people to come in and kind of get a high level overview of what has happened that in terms of investment, and that whether it be donor money, grant money, or commercial money coming into a country. We're trying to make this information easily available to you. So we jump into Kenya, then you see a similar kind of style of format of the latest news, which we update, which comes through from our comms team. We will just keep adding stories to this, so there'll be more and more as you go along. We've also got some links to important companies that are relevant in this ecosystem. So in this case, Clean Cooking Association of Kenya, links through to their webpage. On the overview side of things, we start with some important numbers. The next development of this site will have 6 boxes rather than 3, and it'll start to say a bit more about the volumes of grant capital, commercial capital that have come in by country. So do check back as we continue to add new and interesting numbers to the overview. The next section down is on supply. And at the moment, it's so any company that is a clean cooking company that is operating in Kenya can be found here. And you can keep loading more and more. Or you can filter by a particular technology. Let's go for ethanol. Okay, so 2 companies there in Kenya. Again, click on this, it links through to the websites. We then go in for a little bit on demand. And this is all data from the World Bank. So it's a bit of narrative that you can read here, or you can click through and see what the latest data are straight from source. If we have done a consumer segmentation report, which was provided to us for a number of countries by Frame, then we post that here. That's got some pretty interesting stuff around Kenyan household usage of baseline fuels and prevalence of mobile phones and mobile money, and just general interesting pieces around consumers in that country. Resource is added there. The next section is policy. I hope that this will be useful. It's split by nationally determined contributions, so relevant pieces there that you can quickly get up to speed on, but also other relevant policies. I know that if we go back to some of the news, I'm sure that there's stories about the changes that happened to Kenyan policy in clean cooking line items. And what we have here is the Kenyan duty and VAT for clean cooking items. And we will come back and make sure this is up to date, as we know things can and will change. But as of now, this is the latest view. The next section we have is on carbon. And so this is I suppose a small dashboard that shows the voluntary carbon market for clean cooking projects in Kenya, total credits issued, retired, number of project developers, which registry it's from. And this is all from the Berkeley carbon trading project. You can see the source there. So it's an open source piece of information. We just kind of pre-filtered it to show what it shows for clean cooking in this case, Kenya. And we are having some negotiations with other providers of data that we might look to switch to in due course. And then we wouldn't be using this data source. We would just be using potentially a different data source. So again, check back on that one. But at the moment, this is the information that we have and that we are showing on carbon in country. The last piece then on countries is RBFs. This is a list of RBFs that we know are underway or have been completed in Kenya. And if you click on any of these links, you'll go straight through to the RBF name. So that is the Kenya country page, which is a very similar template followed by all of the other countries. What remains to show you now is the sector data journey. Again, you'll see at the top here some relevant, basically a relevant reading list to kind of get you spun up on all things relevant to the sector. Doesn't have to be a CCA resource at all, far from it. So, on the left there, you can see Acumen's really great last publication on their experiences from investing in cook stoves. On the right here, fabulous report from MEX via Climate Focus on voluntary carbon markets for clean cooking. So some CCA reports and some resources all here, just to help orient investors with what's the latest in terms of sector trends, sector data. Okay, and here's one of our email addresses. If you've got any ideas that you want to see, if this provokes any thoughts that you'd like to see, please do reach out to us. Absolutely looking for your feedback to make this as useful as we can. In terms of data, one of our main reports is the industry snapshot, and that contains a lot of charts and a lot of data. And what we've done here is make all of that data available for all of the charts that are in that report, such that you can, so just clicking on the first one in terms of capital raised by Clean Cooking Ventures, you can download the data for this, or save it as a picture. We also have here 2021 data. So actually the most recent industry snapshot is 2020 data. So this site will be the best place to come for the most recent data. I think certainly in the next month, certainly in the next 2 months, we'll be having the 2022 data added to this site. So it will come out ahead of the industry snapshot report, which is due out in October of this year. So again, another plug, if you want the latest, this place is probably, well, it is meant to be the place for you to come to have access to the latest. So yeah, so I won't go through all of these charts, but they are all here. Some really interesting ones as well from like carbon revenue perspective, a 22-fold increase from 2017 through to 2021. You can see that here and download that there. If you're interested in gender investment, the data is here as well. All right. I know we're nearly getting to the end of time, so I will give 2 more things. One is this Clean Cooking customer benchmarking. So this is data that we've got from our partnership with 60 decibels, basically 5,000 customer voices, or in this case 3,384, but when they've uploaded all of the data in, it'll be 5,000 odd. This is a great way to, if you're a company, see how you compare in terms of some really important metrics, like Net Promoter Score, to different technologies, first access, perceived quality of life changes, customer effort score, challenge rates, is all available here. And hopefully this will be a useful thing for investors too, looking to get a bit more of an understanding about benchmarks and performance and what good looks like. And then this is like an aggregated story around carbon and where voluntary carbon market projects are, how Cook Stoves compares to the rest of the voluntary carbon market, issued and retired credits. And then the last thing to share is customer insights. So, custom insights. So we got we have a lot of conversations with investors where they ask us for information and we think, gosh, yeah, it's surprising that doesn't exist out there. In this case, do you have anything on stove usage rates? It's like, well, actually, yes, we do. So here's a little insight that we can knock up around for improved cook stoves, proportion of usage where all of the cooking is done or reported to be done through that, and then what does best case and worst case that we know of look like. So this is an example, I guess, where if you have a question, please do reach out to us, because then we can use that to hopefully put more and more of these little pages together, just to lift the lid on and make it slightly less of a black box when people are coming in to potentially invest in clean cooking companies. That is us at time. Michelle, over to you for any quick questions.
Thank you, Ronan, for that great live demonstration. We are at time. We don't want to take much more of your time. Thank you for the questions that have already come in. We are going to try answer maybe a few on this call. Ronan, what do you think? Maybe we answer a few, and then we will get back to you on in a written form with more of your answers. But yes, I've seen a question about how different players can use these pages to seek investment. I think Ronan has said on the site there's going to be a place where you can get a form where you could fill so that we can get your information and include you in these pages. I will received a question on whether these pages contain investor information in different sectors. At the moment, we do have company information. So, but we are still very at the beginning stages. We said we're still in development. We are looking to improve these pages and see how it can serve different actors. So we will take that as a point to note. Thank you for that. We have received many other questions. Maybe I can take one more question in which I will give it to Ronan as he closes. On Ronan, maybe you could tell us a bit more about how we got to this place and how we select what goes in and what doesn't go into the pages. Thank you.
What goes into the pages? Okay, it has to serve a purpose of helping an investor or donor increase their understanding of the clean cooking ecosystem. That might be to do with a particular player in terms of a company to invest in, or it might be to deepen an understanding in a country. I think that's the main gate. In terms of what that means for companies, obviously we want to be profiling companies that are open to receiving investment, so they have to be for profit, would be one kind of important criteria that would determine whether they can be profiled. And I think that's the main point. There's also a filter we do apply on it needs to be a company that is beyond pilot stage. So there's a minimum number of customers that we look for. We look typically for companies, we would like to profile companies in this that are beyond the seed round of funding, so kind of looking for Series A or beyond. But again, that's just a starting point for us to be, we could look to revisit that set of parameters based on what feedback we get through the inboxes. Does that answer that question, Michelle?
Yes, it does, Ronan. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, so I acknowledge that we are just over time, and there's a lot of questions, so we will look to answer those in written format and get back to you. We will also get back to you with the links for the site, just so it's easy for you to find and use. We will be releasing a press release on this today, and a recording of this webinar up on our YouTube channel, hopefully by the end of the week. There will be a poll that should pop up as you leave this webinar. We would really appreciate if you could take the time to complete that. It is only 4 questions. That shouldn't take really too long at all. But it does start to solicit some feedback from you about, is this site going to be useful to you? What would make it more useful? So with that, I'll say thank you ever so much for joining us, and thank you in advance for doing the poll, and thank you in advance for sharing your feedback and ideas on how we can continue to build on this and to hopefully make it more useful and used, and ultimately drive more investment into clean cooking companies.